So this is our third and wait, let me do this. This is our third and final session. And again, I encourage everyone that wants to participate. The floor is open for you, and ask questions and voice your thoughts and feelings. We're going to be doing the same thing we did in the past. I'll be speaking about the subjects that you'll see on the screen in this presentation, and then we'll have a 5-minute break. And I'll invite you again to participate in any way you think is appropriate. And then we shall conclude. So today's subject for the day is relationship and emotions and caregiving work. Well, this is a big part of who we are, emotions. And we have all chosen, I include myself in this because I've been a caregiver for the elderly for most of my professional life, about 30 years of the years I have. And yes, it is an emotional based position. It's not, just lifting, washing, carrying, and so on. It is part of a big part of our toolbox, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the next hour or so. So what is care? The word care has a double meaning. On the one hand, it emphasizes the care activities such as bathing, dressing, or feeding someone. On the other hand, care is also feelings of concern such as caring or affection for the caregiver towards the patient. When we care about someone, we usually feel commitment and responsibility towards him. So we all know that you can't just bathe someone in a mechanical way, and you can't feed someone in a mechanical way, and you can't take care of someone in a mechanical way. Obviously, we have to care about that person and to look and to see how they respond to our touch or to the pace of the things that we're doing, and what their expectations, what they like, what they don't like, and so on. So this involves a real intimate kind of a relationship that we spoke about before, that we want to establish, and that will bring us into the caring situation. So care work, a definition. Care work has been defined as work that provides services based on sustained personal interaction, is motivated at least partly by concern about others. The basis for care work involves creating a relationship with the patient and his family. And a definition, relationship is the way in which two or more concepts, objects, or people are connected on the state of being connected, or the state of being connected. Well, we're repeating ourselves in different ways, but I think that the words care and relationship go together, and those words are something that we need to emphasize. And an interaction. All of our work is interaction. I think that if you're here and you made the choices that you've made and you've come this long way, then I think that not only did you choose this profession, but maybe the profession has chosen you. If you don't enjoy or feel that this is a calling for you, I think that it would make it more difficult to do this kind of a job, especially in a foreign country. Sometimes it's easier to take care of other people's family. Sometimes in our own family, it's more difficult. It's more emotionally, and charged with different kinds of things. And being a caregiver for another family sometimes is easier, but it always brings us back to our own feelings. And I think that if we have unfinished business with family members, sometimes with parents, sometimes with children, sometimes with other people around us, that can come out in our work, because our work is, involves our emotional state of mind. And being aware of that can help us also to check it, to put it in balance, so to speak. Interpersonal relationship. Interpersonal relationship is an association between two or more people that may range from feelings to from fleet range from fleeting to enduring. Okay, relationships that are maybe short or long term. This association may be based on care, solidarity, regular business interactions, or some other type of social commitment. Yes. The relationship you create with your patient, his family, is an interpersonal relationship, obviously, because you're going to be living there. And I assume that if this person that you're going to be caring for has an extended family, perhaps daughters, sons, will probably be invited to their homes for uh, Shabbat meals. In Israel, most families do have family get-togethers on the weekend for Shabbat or for Friday evening meals. And we are approaching a whole month of holidays. And here in Israel, we have many, many holidays in the month of September. One comes in, one goes out every other week. And there are many, how should we say it, not rules and regulations, but um, the ways people deal with these. It's always a stressful time before holidays. I think it's stressful time for all over the world during the summer solstice and the winter solstice. Maybe it has to do with the moon, maybe it has to do with other things. But holidays in the winter and in the summertime all over the world, I think, is very stressful. And it's stressful for the people that you're going to be taking care of. And I'm assuming that it would be also stressful for you. Um, when families get together on a continuous basis, one holiday after the other, and usually in Israel, people that observe the holidays, it begins a day before and it lasts for at least 24, sometimes 48 hours. And so, people may be in an interpersonal conglomeration of staying and not staying and wanting to entertain their disabled person and making it more difficult and so on. So this is very stressful. And we also think about who can come, who can't come, who used to be here, who isn't here anymore. All of those things kind of overwhelm people during the holiday season, as you may also experience during your holidays and family gatherings. And so this is something that you really should be aware of, that this coming month and usually all holidays are very stressful, not only in the preparation and so on, but also it brings out a lot of emotions in most people. Meaning and importance of a relationship. Relationships provide the opportunity for three key benefits: exchange of support, social engagement, and a sense of worth. All major ingredients for foundation of well-being of both sides of the relationship. I think this is very true. And I think that when you are in the position that you are, that you're giving a lot of yourself, of your time, of your emotion, of your patience, of your energy, it's only fair that you would feel that it's appreciated, that you are rewarded in in an emotional way, that people say thank you and see the effort that you make and respond to your goodwill and so on. And I hope this is part of the relationship that will be formed between you um, and your client patient. And of course, if they are unable to voice that, I hope that the surroundings will be able to show appreciation, perhaps a husband, wife, daughter, son. So it is normal and sensible to expect to be appreciated for the work we do, and that goes all across the table. Doesn't matter what work we do, but especially in this kind of a situation. Components of a relationship. On the surface of the relationship, needs, desires, and abilities. Under the surface of the relationship, expectations, knowledge, and emotions. On the surface of the relationship, let's talk about the needs. Both the caregiver and the patient have needs. Needs for listening, attention, honesty, feeling respected. Yes, I think both sides of each relationship need to feel the same in those categories. Okay, that you're being heard, that you are listening to what your employer is asking or needs. You have their full attention, and they have your full attention. Obviously, honesty is always, and your feelings are being respected. If you don't feel well, you can take the time off. If you have other needs, for whatever reason, to go, to do, to take care of your own business, this is something that would be considered, on an obvious arrangement that would be made in your direction. And it is in your contract that you have days off, and you have perhaps some sick days, and you have your off days, yes, once a week, and so on. And all of those things must be respected. Desires, both the caregiver and the patient have desires, needs for being listening, attention, honesty, feeling respected. The same thing in terms of desires and abilities. Both caregiver and the patient have abilities, the ability to listen, to respect each other. And you have a lot more abilities at this point, which is why they brought you. You're strong, you're healthy, and you want to be part of the caregiving milieu environment for this patient or client that is in need of assistance in his daily care. Under the surface of the relationship, there are expectations. Both the caregiver and the patient have, okay, do we do this? Yes. Okay, this is on the surface and this is underneath the surface. The same thing, expectations. Both the caregiver and the patient have needs to get good treatment and to keep the family involved. Okay, let's talk about keeping the family involved. This is a situation where, you as a caregiver that lives with the person may have a responsibility in, reporting to the family on a regular basis. Perhaps they have a son or daughter that lives far away, and they're very busy. And so through the phone or maybe through the internet, you can send a picture or a report every once in a while to initiate it. I think that might be a nice gesture to keep people informed, and the family as well. My grandchildren go to the nursery school, and every day the parents get, this is something that's popular here today, they get a report, what they ate and how much they slept and if they went to the bathroom or not. And, there's like a to-do list. And so they feel involved and they know what's going on. Well, this might be a suggestion that could be appropriate as well, to give maybe not a daily report, but a weekly report of how things are going and so on and so forth. To acknowledge both the caregiver and the patient have knowledge. Okay, so what is care and what is good care in your eyes? This is something that has to be negotiated with the family and the client. Okay, you may think that a person needs to wash his hair every time they take a bath, and maybe this person only wants to wash his hair once a week. I'm just giving an example and two things, or if dishes can stay in the sink or not, little things, but little things that can make a difference. And so we want to kind of check the way things are perceived, and if it's okay, the way we like to do things, we ask, and if not, we do the way We do the way they like it. Okay. Emotions, both the caregiver and the patient have emotions, can be both positive and negative, empathy, along with longing. Absolutely. I'm sure that everyone that comes to a strange country left things at home, many people, many objects, maybe many things. And it's only natural that you'll be missing them, your previous life or any part of it. And I think it's important to understand that this is part of you. And I think that you need to know that, especially elder people, if they are your clients, they have a continuous longing for the have been a part of their life and maybe are not there anymore, and so on. So this is a very natural process that people go through. The connection between two layers of a relationship: the needs, desires, and the abilities, the expectations, the knowledge, and the emotions. So both caregiver and patient have needs. We talked about that. Desires, that both the caregiver and the patient have desires. And abilities, both the caregiver and the patient have abilities. In terms of expectations, both the caregiver and the patient have needs. Knowledge, both the caregiver and the patient have knowledge. And in terms of emotions, both the caregiver and the patient have emotions. Okay. Care work is emotional work. Yes, we're going around and around with that. And I can't emphasize it enough. That is, the basis of our toolbox when we go to work. So care work is often defined as emotional work. Emotional work can be defined as work that involves emotions arise, and a work requires to express emotion. It can also be defined the management of one's own feelings or work done in an effort to maintain a relationship. Okay. This is very important to know how to manage our own feelings. Okay. Sometimes, it's very natural to feel frustrated or angry or disappointed or anything else. And we have to know that as natural it is that we have these feelings, but allowing them and taking the time to put them in check, to say, excuse me, I need a 5-minute break, go somewhere else, breathe, do some exercise, eat something, drink something, and then come back to the situation that has been, very difficult for you with new energies. But you have to understand that this is on us as caregivers to take the responsibility to change the energy when we get into some kind of round and round and round, and we're not getting anywhere further, to stop and to be the bigger person in the situation, because that is our responsibility. It is only natural that during caregiving work, different and varied emotions will arise, both positive and negative, and each emotion is legitimate. Yes, obviously, when we care for people, sometimes we feel negative feelings about, maybe their body, their habits, their whatever, the way they do things. So we have to keep that in check. And hopefully, after a time, we can be an influence in a direction and all of those things. I want to emphasize that, one of the most important parts, we're talking about emotions, but when you make an emotional connection with your client, it usually makes everything easier and more worthwhile, obviously, for the giver and for the client and his family. And also, it is our responsibility to help people, not just to alleviate pain and to do the physical things that make his life safer and better, but also to allow him to connect and reconnect or connect with new things that enhance their emotional life. Okay, perhaps allowing them to connect with grandchildren or friends, dialing for them, encouraging them to do this, to maintain their emotional positivity. Okay, and to enhance their emotional energy. Along with emotion you have towards your patient, remember to be self-compassion towards yourself. Okay, it is important to recognize your own emotions, identify them, give them space, and acknowledge them. If you feel any negative emotions, do not suppress them. Do not be left alone with your feelings and emotions. You can always find someone to talk to, friend, family, or agency members. This is important. I think that your batteries have to be charged on a regular basis in order for you to be able to do this very difficult job. And even though you may be many hours or many days alone with a person who is very needy and drains all your energy from you, it's important that you find ways to recharge yourself emotionally as well, to share difficult situations or happy situations. It's the same. Friends, family, agency, and so on. I encourage you to do the things that you love to do. Find ways to do it. If you are a religious person, find the way to attend, religious classes or mass or whatever, belong to a community. If you have any special, how should we say it? You sing, you dance, you draw, you paint, you play music. Find a way to continue to do that. And I also encourage you to assist the clients that you live with to maintain all of those aspects of life that they have enjoyed in the past and perhaps cannot anymore in the way that they did before, but maybe in a different way. So part of using our emotions is being creative in our work. Every work has an aspect of creativity, and this is one of them. Tips for creating good relationship. Be mindful of how you start a conversation. Okay, this is very important. I think that when you look in a person's eyes, we talked about that, and maybe you touch them very lightly on the shoulder or on the hand. It's acceptable usually. You get their attention, and you want to use as many senses as possible in order to draw attention. And to be mindful means to concentrate on how to connect, and of course, using a nice voice and saying things directly. All of those things are very important. Ask open questions, use I statements. We spoke about that. Express what you feel and what you think in an honest way. Be specific in the message that you want to transfer, and give others the attitude that you want to receive, obviously. So we can have a 5-minute break, and then we can think about the questions here to be discussed. I invite you again to ask questions or to voice your experiences or to share with us and with your other friends here on the screen. If you have anything on your mind, feel free to do so. Margareta, anything on the chat that's relevant?
No,
or just...
no, only names of participants.
Okay. Is there anything you would like to add? Or Yaakov is our guest today as well. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself and say something, or anyone else.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, yes, I'm a guest of you, and I want to congratulate you coming to Israel. Maybe when we will start the discussion, I would like to share with you another point of view as an employer in the past of an assistant in nursing from the Philippines. I will be glad to do so, and then maybe show you how the other side looks at the business.
Oh, wonderful. Good. Okay, so let's take a 5-minute break, everyone. And please think if you have anything that you'd like to share with us, you're very welcome. And this is your opportunity to do so. Okay.
So we actually received one response so far, but a long one. In general, caregiving works are very frustrating and stressful because of some cases occurred, but we have to be patient all the day. We couldn't all up some certain situation. That's why we need more patience in order to work peacefully. Sometimes we need to cuddle them for us to emphasize the sense of emotion. Mutual relationship with your patient would might be good interaction.
What kind of, the last sentence, can you say that again?
Mutual relationship with your patient would might be good
Yes,
interaction.
I agree. Okay. Mutuality is an important aspect of all relationships with people, especially, um, especially when there's a caregiver, you know, there one is sometimes more in control than the others. But on an emotional basis, it's always good to have a mutual basis for relationship, to be mutually, yes, involved, mutually committed, and so on. Okay, thank you for sharing that. Thank you.
And I think, Sarah, the first part actually of this comment is also very important because it says basically, yeah, in simple words, in shorter way, that you should be generous in emotionally, yeah, in terms of the, in your relationship with your patient, because it sometimes can be difficult. Different situation happens, but you somehow have to, yeah, accept it, I guess, and be generous maybe with accepting this situation.
I agree. I agree. That's very, being generous is part of the what is part of the job. Generous with our feelings and with our emotions, obviously with our positive emotions. Absolutely, absolutely. And I understand that, if you say this, that perhaps you've already had some experience in this area. Um, I want to emphasize some of the things that we spoke about, and perhaps
So we have
Yaakov,
another comment. We have
yes.
another comment if you would like. Oh, just when I read the first one, we received another. Working in this industry really requires us to be patient uh, and in giving care. And it is really challenging physically and mentally. I believe that if we really love doing care work and we work not only for the money, everything will be easy. Whatever hardness, maybe hardships we will encounter, we can surpass.
I agree. I agree. And yes, I commend you for feeling that way. I've always felt that, this kind of work was my calling in life. And I see that you cannot do this kind of work if you don't feel that way, totally committed to giving to other people and to making other people's life better. And it's not just about the money, because it is a very challenging job. And I want to emphasize again things that I said before. Don't take things personally if in the beginning people don't respond in a positive way that you project. And it takes time because they have their own issues adjusting to a situation. I want you to take into consideration again that I don't know the specifics of the family that you will be working with, but it's usually a family. It's just not just one individual. And you have to take into consideration time that it'll take you to get to know who's who, what's what, who's important, who's less important, and how to respond and relate to everyone. I think it's also important to understand that Israel is a country of immigrants. And so, each family has its own traditions and its own way of dealing with things, especially in the next coming weeks before the holidays. So you're coming right into that, what their traditions are in terms of how they observe holidays, how they prepare for holidays, and so on. And don't take it personally. Ask again and again if this is what needs to be done and how they want it done, and so on and so forth. And write things down. And you know, and you'll be making mistakes. That's obvious. Everybody makes mistakes, and that's okay too. Um, Anyone else want to comment? Yaakov, is he with us? He wanted to give his perspective, being an employer of a Philippine assistant worker for someone in his family. Is he with us?
Yeah, I am with you.
Okay,
And,
Yaakov, please share.
Yeah, I want to share with you a moment as an employer. It was about 10 years ago. There was no bilateral agreement between Philippines and Israel, and workers came through private companies. I must emphasize that didn't have any preparation as employers. At least now you get some preparation and orientation. Where are you coming to, and with whom are you going to work? We didn't know even mainly, mostly separately, even the name of the caregiver. So we got a person from the company. Now, of course, after she came to us, it was my mother-in-law who needed assistance. Her name is Marjorie. And I want to tell you one important thing. She was the 8th person to come to my mother-in-law, which means that the 7 first people didn't find a good way to work together. And it was a very short time for each one. But that was a big trauma for all of us. I mean, changing the caregiver 7 times was not good, not for us. I assume not for the person. But at the end, when Marjorie came, we were very happy with her. She worked with us 10 years. It was a long time. And we were very new that at the very beginning, if she's comfortable with the room. We didn't know if to ask her to sit and eat with us. Maybe she wanted to eat by herself.
Yaakov, I'm
And
sorry, we
how do
can't
you
hear
deal
you
with
well.
this kind of questions? You tell her you want to sit with us. She said, no, mom, thank you. I want to me. I didn't hear the comment. Anyway, I mean that it was every day one more question to find the answer. And it was not easy, but through, as Sarah mentions every time, communication is the tool. Being open is the tool. Asking questions is the tool. Not to be afraid, not to be not aggressive, of course, but not to prevent questions. Questions will give a better answer. If we guess, that's not good. So we, at the end, of course, it took a time, but at the end, we were very pleased and we got a good care from her. My mother-in-law passed away, and that's how she finished. But it was a long time and a very good relations in general. And it was also, ups and downs and going here and going there. But until the end, we were a very good relations. And we thank her, of course, very much for all her care. If you have any questions to me as an employer, please do so.
Yaakov, can you hear me?
Yes?
Can you, in the past, this is our second group, but in the past, we did have people that mentioned their anxiety about having to change employers. And so perhaps you want to share with us what was the reasons that it was not compatible with the first 7 workers that came along. What was the reason?
Look, I have to admit that I don't remember all the reasons, but one.
We can't hear
I
you.
remember
Yeah,
one specifically.
Yaakov,
She was
sound-
very nice.
Yaakov, the sound isn't good.
Maybe I'll turn off the video so you can hear better.
Yes,
Yes.
please, thank you.
You're right. So
Okay.
I remember one specifically. She was, as I said, she was very intelligent. You know how we found her all the time? With a book in her hand. Look, I'm sorry, you want to read, that's fine. We even, my mother-in-law was a big reader, so she found a lot of common with her. But she came to give care, not to read books. So after maybe a few days, we told her that she's not able to stay with us because we need care for my mother-in-law, not reading books. That was one I remember very specifically.
Okay. Okay, so Yaakov, you're bringing up an important issue, okay, about expectations. And
Right.
I spoke a little bit about this, and you mentioned again, where to eat with the family on your own, where to put your food. Sometimes, I would assume that most of these caregivers are not Jewish, and so they're not necessarily aware of the different laws and regulations in the Jewish faith about what, where to put what, having separate dishes for meat and milk
Right.
and so on. And all of those things need to be negotiated in an open and direct way with the family, as well as when and what you are allowed to do as your own free time. And I think it's important that that's defined as well in a written or basically in an unwritten contract. If if there's nothing special to be done, do you sit in the living room and watch TV with your client, or listen to music, or do you go into your room and close the door and do what you like to do, maybe read, or go on the internet? And when is that appropriate and when is that not appropriate? It's important to discuss these things. I urge you to talk about those things, okay?
With your permission, Sarah, there is one
Yes.
more thing I think I wanna emphasize. Look, as I'm sure it was mentioned many times, you're alone with the family. You're alone with the person that you give care to. So you need friends. And we understood all the time that people are coming to my mother-in-law, another time to another person that she goes to. This is one thing that we should talk together, my apartment, okay, as a person who gets care. I want to know who's coming. We didn't know the people that they came. That was quite, a friction. It's one subject that you should also ask permission in a way that you want to bring someone to sit with, to talk to, and to have a good time with. That's fine. But you should ask permission from the family, because it's not trivial. It's not that something, okay, I'm bringing a friend to sit with. It can be an ease for the family, because they don't know the other. They hardly know you as a caregiver. They don't know the other people. So this is something that to be settled, not from the beginning, but we understand you need friends to come to and to sit and to talk, but talk about that before.
Okay, thank you, Yaakov. That's an important thing to mention, that if you have people that you want to come to visit you, that that it would be with the family's approval when they come, how long they stay, and so on and so forth, so that they would approve. It's very often that people are suspicious of strangers, obviously, and you're a stranger until they feel otherwise. And it's only natural that if someone comes into their home, their safe place, they would be very anxious about having strangers without their approval coming. Yes, thank you for sharing that, Jacob. I think those are very important parts of living with someone that has their own separate needs, as we spoke before. Okay. Anything else anyone want to share with us from experiences?
Sarah, there was another comment that we received, actually from someone whose name is also Marjorie, by coincidence. So she's writing, I'm sorry, just one second, just popped out. It may be difficult in terms of, sorry, you're just jumping here in the chat line. Sorry, 1 second. It may be difficult in terms of communication, but for me, we Filipino can adjust in any kind of situation, just give our best to our patients and showing them that we care and we love what we're doing.
Okay. Okay. Yes, we all in Israel have stereotypes, and maybe you have stereotypes also. We all have our not only stereotypes, but always used to say that people grow old with their stereotypes of old people. And even though that's where they are in life, but they still have the stereotypes. Well, we have positive stereotypes about Filipinos because that's how most of us experience them as caregivers, kind, gentle, and very generous, and also, polite. So I think this is the way that the general feeling is from my experience about Filipino people, and I hope you make an easy adjustment and that you stay with the family that you've been assigned to for a long time, as long as obviously it is necessary, and so on. And I repeat again that if things do come up that are, conflict situations, that you invest in trying to resolve them and not to give up, because changing employees and employers is not an easy situation as is. And I would say that, if things are discussed openly, then, conflict of expectations and so on can be usually resolved. Anything else, Margarita, that you want to emphasize or summarize?
Not at the moment, but we received another comment, which is also good. So Emily says that based on, I'm reading on her
Yes.
behalf, based on my experience, all I did is to love my job. I treated my patient as my own grandmother, and I never argue with her.
Okay. I didn't mention the word love. Okay, that's a very strong word. But when a person loves the work that they do, it emanates from their in every way. And I that's my wish for myself. I've always loved my job, and I can only bless you with with that feeling that you love your job and you love the people that are around you, and then you will be a very satisfied, happy person. And I think that's the best expectation anyone can have.
I would maybe just say that in terms of emotion, yeah, it's not an easy thing to all of us. So maybe to all the tips and advice that we give here, to share, to communicate, It's not that we are not aware that it's difficult and challenging to open up, especially to open up to someone who is not, who's a stranger to you. And you should remember that you are also a stranger to them. So it's a mutual effort. And hope, and maybe it would be even overwhelming if you will open up immediately with all the emotions that you have, or the person will open up to you with all the emotions that she or he will have. But remember that it is a process, and if you thought and you had doubts and you didn't share something today, it's not late to share it tomorrow. Yeah, so also give yourself some time, maybe, and the same way to your patient. Oh, I think we received something else. 1 second. Oh no, I think I actually received it here on my phone. Just a moment, I will read it. We're expecting our patient to be cooperative. Oh, we receive, we have question answer. So people expecting our patient to be cooperative. Yeah, let's hope, but sometimes, things not quite ideal or not for everything. What do you think patient expectation from you? That probably they expect to receive the best care and be secure. And the feelings that the group shared with us, that our excitement and nervousness of the first day. And this group, so this answer they share, usually they feelings for communication, and generally the feeling about care work, give tender loving care. And the group that share with us is Gusok, Puea, Hernandez, Baran, Rosalina, Edika, Jennifer, Marinol, Abigail.
Nice. Very nice. Listen, everybody has the right attitude. And I think that I emphasize to use your talent and to be creative. Okay, because I think English is probably not your not your language from your how should we say it, home language. And I would assume that the most of your clients, their English will not be their home language. So we're talking about communication that is already a problematic, starting with like one limping leg. And so it opens up a lot of opportunity for misunderstanding. So I think that it's very important to be direct and to ask a lot of questions, and to repeat what the other person said. Like when you write things and we don't completely understand, to ask again and not to be embarrassed, and to be creative, not in making assumptions, but to be creative in the way that you try to adjust yourself. And I think about those 7 people that Yaakov's mother-in-law and the family rejected. They found fault in each one in a serious enough way in order to try to find someone that would be better. But sometimes it's not someone who's better. I think sometimes we go into a room and we know who we like, and we go into a room, we don't know anything about that person, but something clicks about him. And very often after 5 minutes, we found, no, we were wrong. Or the opposite, someone who we'd never even think about, bringing closer to us, turns out to be, a long life friend. So we have to be open and aware, and not just let first impressions, shade us from being open to other things. And remember that the language is not just the words, but the language is also, culture and everything else. Not language, communication. That's a better word. I wish you all very, very good experiences. I hope you love Israel as much as we all do. Travel, enjoy everything.
We are
Hello,
enjoying work with our patient.
Patience, yes. Keyword patience. Anyone else want to comment?
Hi, Sarah. I do have a question. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation that you've been giving to us these past few days. Speaking of communication, as you have mentioned, I am just wondering if you guys have or I was just wondering if there is an online class that you can offer to us to learn Hebrew online after our shift in the day, or maybe during our off, because most of us doesn't know how to speak Hebrew but eager to learn. It would be great to learn it from a native speakers that can understand English too, because most of our employers only speak Hebrew. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for saying that. Margareta, you have a project.
Yeah, I know. Well, actually, we'll share with you also recommendation. You know what interesting happened with pandemic before then, when migrants used to ask us about that, and we say, there are some ulpans, the studios that you can learn Hebrew, and you should find closer to the way you will live. But what happened now in pandemic, there are many open options are online. So I would just recommend you to do research. We also had some, so we'll share with you some links and recommendations. But the thing with that is always better that you will find something that fit you best, because everyone has his or her own pace. So I would just recommend you personally to look for a few options online. There are plenty available. Before you signing up for something, try to read some maybe reviews, feedbacks, because it also can be very helpful. But we will still keep sharing with you some recommendations as well, what we found, and hopefully it will help you. Yeah.
In the meantime, there's Google Translate, which sometimes is very funny. And I see Margarita, I've never used it, I have to say.
No,
but I'll
tell you personally, I'm sometimes actually using Google Translate when you need a quick translation. Google Translate is doing a very good job when it translates, but from some languages. Yeah, English, I think Google is very good with English, because the developers probably English speakers, because it's also most used one. But with Hebrew, it can be not well at all. Yeah, because there's some words being written that can be both verb or something else, and yeah, sometimes the translation is so far from the meaning, can even make things more complicated. But again, there are some useful apps that we already recommend you. Hope you install them, and we'll give you more, and then research. Also, I would suggest you with the communication. I think I didn't tell it in this group, but in the previous one, try to communicate slowly, and also encourage your employer and family to teach you Hebrew. Ask them to show you, and and learn words with that. And you can also, with their permission, or at least maybe put some stickers, around the places to learn the words. So it's also something. But I would just suggest you to, ask them to explain them, to call things by name when they ask you to do something, and also when you do something for them, you can also encourage them to call it by name in Hebrew. What are you doing for them now? So it can also hopefully to speed up the process.
Thank you.
I think we have one more comment list written, and and before we finish, I have a general announcement for the continuation of the program. I'm just checking if it's here. Yes, so as home-based caregiver, it's not an easy job, but you need to adapt first day culture, probably the person that you're taking care of, traditions, and more patience, and love your patient as one of your family member.
Absolutely. But don't be quick to call them mother or father. Ask them how they want to be called.
It can be too close or too personal to someone, or too just not
Sometimes people don't like that. But to treat them as one of the family is always good. Obviously, if you love your family, if you don't love your family, don't treat them like you love your family. Okay.
So thank you for this meeting. Before we finish, I have, as I promised, a short announcement. We will share with you another recorded meeting, also very important. We'll continue this morning. We started to talk about emotions, and we'll keep this line. We'll talk about the emotions and feelings that you have during this process of transition, from one country to another, which called migration. And also we'll mention how and give maybe some practical advice how you can maintain, keep a relationship with your family and your loved ones, which will become a long distance relationship, and not all of you had this experience. So we thought it would be also important to raise this topic, and so please, we strongly recommend you to watch it. And tomorrow we'll meet not in the morning, not during the day, because some of you might go to swab tests. We'll also have this experience from last group. So we have a meeting online at 5 p.m. And before then, we will share today, by the end of the day, questionnaire. We'll try to share it with you as soon as possible. And it's open one, it's not a long one. And we'll ask you to share with us if you have any questions or to one of the topics that we already discussed here, or maybe a topic or concern that we still didn't discuss, but it's important for you to hear about it. So we'll ask you to share it with us within this form, and then we will talk about it on our last final meeting tomorrow, which will be online meeting. So yeah, that is it for now.
So tomorrow at 5
And
o'clock.
thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of the afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Everyone,
Bye.
good luck.
Bye.